Thanks for watching the Council in Brief. I'm Susan Kennedy. We're here with the news of the Montgomery County Council for this second week in September. The Council's returned from its summer recess to a full agenda of business, and we start this time with Councilmember Roger Berliner's call to revisit Montgomery County's taxicab regulations. This as companies like Uber and Lyft are changing the way we view urban transportation. The advent of Uber, an app-based service that puts passengers and drivers together, has prompted a call from the county's taxicab companies to explain why it is not following the same rules they have to. However, Councilmember Roger Berliner says the county's taxicab industry needs to raise its game.
We know that Uber is operating in Montgomery County now, and so our head of our Department of Transportation had sent Uber a letter a month ago saying, you're operating in our county, but not according to our rules, therefore, excuse me. And so it was an implicit threat to say, you either play by our rules or you can't play at all. And I'm saying we need to change our rules.
Berliner, who chairs the council's Transportation and Environment Committee, says Uber represents the future and that its arrival could give the county the opportunity to create a taxicab market that is more dynamic and customer-oriented while still keeping regulations that protect consumers and operators.
This is about the future. So from my perspective, this whole Uber conversation is about what is the face of Montgomery County going forward. Do we want to attract millennials? Do we want to attract innovative companies? Do we want to be about the future, or are we going to talk about old taxicab regulations that are a dying breed? The business model isn't going to sustain itself. And so we need to move forward.
Councilmember Berliner plans to introduce reform legislation after meeting with stakeholders later this fall. In other news, Councilmember Hans Riemer has introduced a bill that would ban the sale and use of food packaging and other items that contain polystyrene. The United States Department of Environmental Protection has called polystyrene a possible human carcinogen, and Riemer says by reducing its use, his bill will protect county residents from its negative health effects.
This is a different source of pollution, which is mostly it's takeout food, food service products, drinks, food that people discard, unfortunately. And there's some human nature that no amount of education is really going to change. But if you can use a different product, then if someone litters something, that product will dissolve or it will not have the same kind of harm that the styrene has.
Court Watch Montgomery aims to improve the system for domestic violence victims by monitoring restraining orders and sentences handed down by Montgomery County judges. The group was formed back in 2011 and since then has been providing the council with annual updates. This week, the Public Safety Committee will hear the latest findings from Court Watch Montgomery. Phil Andrews told us this group is an important steward for county residents.
They have a team of about 20 volunteers who monitor the courts and judges to see how they're treating domestic violence victims and whether the processes and procedures of the court help keep them safe. So, for example, they were able to ensure or to get the courts to adopt a policy where domestic violence victims and their alleged abusers leave at different times. They don't leave through the same exit at the same time to avoid potential conflict. They've been strongly supportive of protective orders that are not overly burdensome to get and that there's adequate enforcement of that. And now they're really focusing on having the county establish and working, urging the county to do this, and the Sheriff's Office is leading the effort in planning this, a safe place for children who are involved in part of cases where you've got a person accused of domestic violence, supervised visitation, drop-off, safe places so you don't have, or you have less likelihood of having a terrible tragedy.
Well, that does it for this edition of the Council in Brief. For County Cable Montgomery, I'm Susan Kennedy. Thanks for watching.